Welcome to Read Poems Every Day. We're going to continue on with Ruth Awad's poem, Take Me With You to the Mountains, a poem that was published here on the Adroit Journal and also later in Awad's collection, Outside the Joy. I highly recommend this collection. We've already, in a past video, counted some beans, looking at the lines, tracking enjambment, which was a little tricky in a poem where there isn't any punctuation, or very little punctuation, and apparently caused some misspelling of the word punctuation in my notes, which I just corrected there. But now I want to move on to sound and sense. I might keep this short. I've been kind of clustering together the different steps of slowly getting to know a poem, and I might experiment with just focusing on one right now, even if just for a few minutes. Sound and sense. There is no, as far as I can tell, rhyme scheme to the poem. If we track down the right side of the poem, modest, dying thing, read and know, a life, else, knees, sharpness, grave, judgment, handfuls, morning, daughters, and my carry small when ocean. Through like that did his mad will when so person only hand posture all understand hair soft didn't again. You can see there wasn't much of a pattern there really at all, even spread across the poem. Sometimes rhymes don't need to be near each other. They might actually be several lines apart, and they might not even follow a particular rhyme scheme. Uh, but in this case, there doesn't appear to be, at least to my ear, any rhyming happening. Okay. But there is some alliterative patterning throughout, especially, we're probably not going to track every instance of alliterative patterning, but you can find just in the first two lines an alliterative patterning of D sounds. So D sounds in lines 1 to 2, for instance. So we have dead. The double dead is such a good word for alliteration because it's bracketed by that hard D. Dead are so modest, so the D there, they require a shroud, a closing D. I'm dying. So we have one, two, three, four, five instances of this sound in just two lines. And so those first two lines seem kind of organized around this, somewhat harsh. And by harsh, I don't mean mean. I just mean it's a powerful sound that the mouth makes when um, articulating, pronouncing this letter. Is there anything else that stands out as we move down the poem? I'm just kind of scanning with my eye. I did notice that knees and sharpness, well, not a rhyme per se, might not even be a slant rhyme really. Knees, sharpness. There is a kind of NS sound there in lines 9 to 10 there at the end. But also, glancing with my eyes, you have the repetition of sadness there in lines 7 and 8 as well. So you could actually say in lines 7 through 10, you have the repetition of sadness, that ending suffix ness, knees, ness repeated. And since these lines aren't very long, those sounds are pretty close to each other. Okay, so grave, day of judgment. Okay, so you also have more D sounds here. Dirt, days, did, daughters. So these are lines. I think that's line 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 14 and 15. I mean, you have the day of judgment, but I'm not sure that quite tracks. And would I miss the sharpness? Either way, you're in a grave until the day of judgment, facing the Qibla. 3 handfuls of dirt, 3 days of mourning. Did you know your daughters weren't at your procession, and did it hurt? Well, maybe. Um, so maybe that day of judgment is there because it also had the repetition day with days of mourning. Makes sense. And then you have the repetition of did. Did you know? Did it hurt? Right. You do have the kind of anaphora there. Did you know? Did it hurt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 and 17. Did you? Did it? So you do have that there. Okay. Do have the custom and carry, but I'm not sure that constitutes a big pattern because procession and did it hurt even if it's custom. My father watched his brother carry your body from his phone. Small screen, small screen. It's a great line too. Um, S sound, small screen. That's 19 to 20. It's also a great enjambment there. Grief rippling out through waves and satellites. Did you like grief rippling out through? Just trying to track if there's some assonance at play too. I'm not quite as good. I always have trouble with vowels anyway, as some of you may have noticed in my reading aloud. So I always try to track assonance, but I'm not as good at that, right? I'm a alliteration boy, so I'm much more attuned to consonants, I guess, than to vowels, since vowels slip and slide um, out of my hands sometimes when I try to track them and sound them out. Hmm. So you have another did you did it there, so that's not quite anaphora, but we can say, sort of cross reference 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 23, and 24 there. Did you like, did it hurt you? Yeah. Did again here. So also 25 to 26. So you have that repetition. Maybe I'll say anaphora repetition there. Feels true. I feel your hand. Feels feel. So that's line 33, I think. Spine, straighten, posture. Posture. So there's that. Um, 30, 31, 32, 33. So that's line 34. Hmm. I kissed, I kissed. So that's 37 and 38. Here, I kissed your hair. I kissed your soft cheek, held your soft hands. Soft, soft. There's maybe quite a lot more S's there at times. I was just a kid and I didn't understand beauty. Still don't. Still kissed, smelled, kissed, soft, soft. C. So you have quite a few of those S's there at the end. 40, 39, 38, 37, 36. 36 to 40, you have more of those S sounds, sometimes with T sounds as well. All right, that seems pretty good in terms of sound. Let's think of the prose sense of the poem now, how it moves. Maybe we'll do this. Not always sure how I want to format the interior there, but let's post it first and then come back to it. Okay. So it's a little difficult to divide the poem up, isn't it? Isn't it? Because it's not broken into stanzas. It's not immediately, at least to the eyes, broken into sentences, though as you read it, you realize it is broken into sentences. So I guess we could say that let's call it part one. You know, we have the reflections on the dead and on afterlife. That's lines one through, I don't know, 10 maybe? It'd be interesting if the poem is divided into sections of 10 lines because it does kind of come to a punctuated pause. Did I track that? Punctuated pause. Yes, at the yeah, so at the end of line 10, you do have, and I would miss the sharpness. Oh, God, what a great line. We'll come back. Maybe we'll come back to that when worrying about ideas and questions. Okay. Um, Ideas and questions. And then we have the reflection on the so the so these are kind of general reflections on the dead and the afterlife, specific reflections on the dead mother and the funeral, the conditions of not attending, not attending. So the daughters weren't at the procession. The brother was, but the father couldn't be. Okay. Or the speaker's uncle, presumably the speaker's uncle. Yes, the uncle was carrying it. Okay. So that's lines 11 through. It is 11 through 20, but it isn't to the end of line 20. Part 3. So it isn't. And non attendance. So we get the conditions of non attendance, right? Pandemic, global satellites, but also, and that's kind of it, right? I wonder if maybe I should expand the part two, the funeral and non attendance, conditions of non attendance. No, it does feel distinct. Conditions of non attendance, 21 through, no, it's 20, 20 through 23. So 20, 21, 22, 23. Because it feels like part four questions from mother about America, about father, uncle. So that's 23 to 28. Part 5, maybe speculating. Speculations? Sorry. About father's grief here. So that's 28 through. So, like, note here at the dead, I think my father will mourn you until he's gone. So that's 31, 30, 31, 32, 33 to 33. And then speakers, memory, and grief sort of closes the poem. 33. So note that repetition of feels and feel in line 33, which I note above here, feels, feel, that is kind of the break from the speculation about the father to the speculation about the speaker, because it feels true what the father says to the speaker. I feel your hand on my spine. So there's that shift to the I, to the speaker's own experience. Whereas above, when speaking to the mother, I mentioned the you, don't I? I hope so. Yes, I do. Okay. Um, the speaker kind of addresses herself, but in a kind of third person distanced sense. Her identity as a daughter of the dead mother, whereas here the speaker kind of takes on um, is now describing her own experience, not speculating about what the mother may have worried about. Speaker's memory and grief. This takes us then to the end of the poem, line 40. So we can see then the movement of the poem from a kind of from generality to specific reflections on the dead mother and the funeral and non-attendance. Might add sort of direct address, actually, that's part of how those reflections happen. Questions posed to the mother, um, conditions of non-attendance, that so there is a specific context that's inserted into the center of the poem for why the father couldn't go. um, Questions for, so we come back to then address to the mother questions about for mother, about America, and about the relationship with her father and her uncle, his brother. um, and then we close with speculations about the father's grief, and then end with the speaker's memory and grief, which seem to align with and correspond to her father's. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's good that I limited myself in this video to sound and sense, since I've gone almost 20 minutes. Let's see how that looks in the published version, right? So I covered alliterative patterning, some of the instances of repetition, not always anaphora. Very few times does it come across as anaphora. And then tried to track the kind of prose sense of how the poem moves and how it moves us from the beginning of its reflections to the end. And so maybe in tomorrow's video, as we move into July, into a new month, I'll take up form and figures, and then maybe by the end of the week, we'll have concluded our initial study of this amazing poem. Anyway, thanks for spending a little more time with me with Awad's poem, and we'll see you tomorrow to read more poems.